What's the best toddler complaint you've ever gotten? Part 2. I want milk in my soup, but I don't want it to be wet. We have a growth room in our lab with intense purple lighting, whereupon leaving everything looks green for 15 to 30 seconds. Once we were giving a tour to a class of 4th graders and showed them this phenomenon. Once it wore off, one kid exclaimed, "Everything's back to normal. I hate normal." We have that quote saved on the fridge. 5 Yo, you're old. Me, I'm not that old, with a slight tone of indignation. How old do you think I am? 5 Yo, the last number. The 3-year-old found a mitten on the ground and put it on. He asked where the other one was, and I said I didn't know. He looked down and said, like it was a unique problem. But I have 2 hands. My boy cried when, after stuffing his sandwich in the VHS recorder, early 90s. There was no movie about sandwiches. Mom, this fish makes my ears sour. My 6-year-old yelled, "I'm too tired to go to sleep," in a fit of delirium and rage. 3-year-old Tyler says, "Uncle Tony, shave your whiskers." I say, "All of it?" He says, "No, only the white ones." When my nephew was 3 or 4, I found a cookie that he had stashed in a couch cushion. It was dry and gross and obviously had been there for a while. I immediately went and tossed it in the trash. My nephew saw this happen and immediately burst into tears. Full-on snotting. Hysterical tears. Through his sobs he managed to choke out the words, "You don't throw away cookies." My husband and I use the saying often. My 3-yo had a meltdown because he wasn't in our 5-year-old wedding photos. He said we didn't love him and that's why we didn't even invite him to our wedding. I previously posted this on r/daddit. Last night, my daughter, 2yo, and I were finishing up tubby time. We put her toys on the ledge and began the ritual of me trying to convince her to climb out of the tub on her own, with assistance so she doesn't slip and fall. During our standard back and forth, "Time to dry off. Let's climb out. Please." "No." She paused, looked me in the eye, and said, "Poo poo." She quickly dropped into a squat and plopped out a decent-sized turd and a moderately-sized after nugget. She proudly stood up and glanced down at her handiwork. All hell broke loose. She immediately began screaming in terror and scrambling to get out of the tub. Away from the fecal horrors her body wrought. And all but leaped into my arms. I was struggling to both hold onto a soaking wet toddler and make sure she didn't smear any residuals on anything. I tried to get her to stand up so I could assess the contamination potential. But all efforts to put her down for a moment were soundly rebuffed. After taking her to her room and putting her on the changing pad, we wiped and wrapped her in her towel. She sat with her knees to her chest, crying, while I dried her off and rubbed her back and told her everything was all right. After she calmed down, I explained to her that it was all right that it happened. We just need to try to make it to the potty next time. She's been potty training for a few months. But our consistency hasn't been the best due to her little brother, 3mo. She finally calmed down enough that we could finish getting her jammies on and brush her teeth before bedtime. After putting her down, I went and told my wife before completely losing it, nearly peeing my pants laughing. The look on my daughter's face when she realized that's what poop is was unmatched. Before that moment, she had only pooped in diapers and never actually saw what poop was. But that log on the bottom of the tub was an eye-opening experience for her. My stepdaughter is 2.5 and super dramatic. She was angry that she couldn't rub her nipples off in the bath with the ducky sock, she meant sponge. Also, she had a major tantrum because I didn't want her to watch me in the bathroom, when I needed to do period stuff. I got a great toddler compliment once. Played with step-grandkids in the kiddie pool all afternoon while parents and grandma were too busy jabbering inside to pay the slightest attention to them. At dinner, one said, "The nice thing about Ment is, he never said goodbye to his childhood self." My 4-year-old was devastated to learn he wouldn't turn 9 on his next birthday. LOL, my little brother, when he was 4, liked ice cream so much so that whenever he got one he'd be so delighted to eat it, but when he'd be about to finish it he'd begin sobbing that he didn't want to finish it as he'd have none left then. I chopped down my nephew's tree. It was in fact broccoli that I chopped up for dinner. I didn't hear the last of that one. He cried no end. I seem to remember that I had to go to the local supermarket to get another tree to replace it with because he said that I was evil. Slightly different. My cat once threw a fit because my 2-year-old niece was ignoring him. He'd roll on his back, wiggle around, bat at her with his paws, and the normally cat-loving baby didn't even glance at him. Clearly that was my fault because he started yelling at me before running off after the kid when she left the room. My mom was babysitting a kid one time, and he wanted fish sticks for lunch. So, mom cooks the fish sticks, and then serves them to him, only for him to lose his shit. He had a full-on screaming tantrum over the fish sticks. It took him a minute or two to calm down and explain. He wanted fish sticks that were wide, not long. Mom just turned them sideways and he lost his shit again, screaming it wasn't the same thing, and actually left the room and put himself into timeout. I ate the fish sticks so they didn't go to waste. 5 minutes later he comes out into the kitchen and asks for the fish sticks. Cue meltdown number 3 because I ate them. So, mom made some more of the exact same kind and he happily ate them. When my niece was 3, her favorite website was Barbie.com. I was over at my brother's house one day and she asked me to turn on Barbie.com so she could play on it. The site was taking a bit of time to upload, so I decided to take a quick look at my email messages until it was finished. My niece looked at the Gmail account I was on and said, "Auntie, I said Barbie.com, not check my email.com. Now that I've been working at home, I have a desk set up in my bedroom. Whenever I give my 3-year-old grief, he tells me to go back to work. My 3-year-old was at first very calmly and matter-of-fact telling me she wanted the proteins from the top of the fridge. There is only cereal and crackers on top of the fridge. I keep saying what? Her calm demeanor quickly devolves into pure disdain for my stupidity. She eventually throws her hands up and gets her mom. She wanted the saltine crackers. Preschool me took possession of my older brother's can of tomato worms. Grandma caught me as I was dropping the second worm down the grate of the floor furnace. "What are you doing?" she asked, as calmly as she could. I had my toddler Sunday school reason. Worms need to go to hell, Grandma. We laughed over that one for decades. I brought a box of crackers to share at a friend's house. I offered some to their toddler. She took a giant handful of crackers. It was far more than any adult would take, and very surprising that a toddler could hold that many. It was too much. But I didn't want to be a dick and tell her she couldn't have that many. Instead I said, "You should share those with your mom and dad." The look of pure disappointment and sadness on her face was priceless. It was like I told her that her pet was dead or something. I just didn't want her trying to eat junk food larger than her head. I still smile just thinking of that look. My kid hates it when I dance, which is understandable as I'm very white. He was about 2. I was holding him, grooving along to something. He looks me in the eye and goes, "Daddy, no sing." I'm not singing. I'm dancing. "Daddy, don't sing." I'm not. Him. In tears, "Don't sing with your feet." A story about a toddler complaint my older sister made to our oldest cousin. When they were both young, they were playing a game of Connect 4. And cousin won. He shouted, "I win." My sister, who adored him at the time, repeated it. "I win." Our cousin said, "No, I win." My sister repeated it. And so on and so forth. "Daddy's toots are too stinky." My son, hysterically crying. Everyone's familiar with the thing where you pretend to get someone's nose and stick your thumb between so it looks like a nose. My 3-year-old decided to do this to me. I'm in the back with the kids, having learned the stunt from his father, while in the car with my mother, father and my nephew. He doesn't get it quite right, but it was adorable. "Mummy, I got your nose. I've got 2 noses now," he declares triumphantly. "Oh really?" I answer. "Yes," he tells me. "And you've got 2 chins." Population of car dies laughing. I turn red. "Well played, son. Well played." Asked if she could have one piece of candy. And I said yes. She then asked, "Can we compromise?" And I replied that we didn't need to compromise because she was already getting exactly what she wanted. Child proceeds to throw a tantrum until I agree that we can compromise. She eats her candy and leaves happily. We had a full-on discussion with my daughter because we told her she was 2 and she was insisting on that she is 3. It ended up with us agreeing that she is 3 but asking her if she could possibly just blow out a candle that is number 2. She did it only to warn us she wants a 3 next time. Fine with us. My niece complained about her height. She said, "How long before I'm as tall as mommy? I want cookies." She basically was wanting to reach the cookie jar by herself without having to ask. You stole me pee-pee shoe. My 4-year-old is a picky eater, so we typically give her whole milk to get more calories in her. Once I have her 1% milk because it came with her kids' meal. I didn't tell her it was any different. She takes a swig, puts it back down and says, "I want the good milk please." Was sitting at the entrance of the play place at a nearly empty Chick-fil-A, I don't know how but there was barely anyone there, when a little boy probably walked up to me, pointed at my sunburned face and said the 4 words that haunt me to this day. "Your nose is wrong." Edit, I mean Tatse probably 2 to 3 years old. This was my nephew, crying because his brother was eating the steam from his Sunday roast dinner. Thanks for watching.